Well, good morning. As we sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, indeed a beautiful morning, a April 19th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980, believe it or not, 4 decades, a little over 4 decades, 4.5 decades of non-stop airing, of non-stop participating, of non-stop posting, of non-stop um, ex- expressing, utilizing the stage that represents the concept of what public access is all about, continuously um, straightforwardness into that concept that was led by Fraser Dougherty. Of course, we cannot forget his contribution and the contribution of Francis Ann, his partner to life, wife, and one who shared the vision, and of course, a huge group out there like yourselves that joined into the effort, and of course those early founders together with Fraser Dougherty that did not waver and did not second guess themselves, and they had no doubts. Doubts is not like such a bad things to have because it leads to improvements and whatnot. So I thought to myself, um, how privileged I am because I'm here with the LTV since the mid 80s, I guess 85, 86. So it's already looking into 38 years. Um, and I don't sit and dwell and look back and see how much I did or didn't do, even though I like the numbers of past past 5,500 shows here of the Hello Hello Show, only on the behalf of my 25 years about with this particular show. And then I do reminisce now and then for the 1985 to 1999. For 14 years, I used to do producing night tapes. Those was the early days where you would just take your camera. If you're lucky enough to have a video camera, then in mid 80s, and just to have this VHS tape and then shoot things, whatever. And then I used to go to the jam sessions at the Talk House there every Monday night, and that was an experience in itself. And I always filmed everything because Fraser Dougherty told me, you'd be a fool not to take your camera to the post office, so to wherever it is that you go, and you would be a fool not to press the record button, and things like that. I always thought that in addition to his enthusiasm and uniqueness and intelligence, he was somewhat a peculiar person, But then I realized he had to be a peculiar person in order to be who he was. And then when Alan Plants, my mentor, and when I say my mentor, I really mean my mentor in the full sense of the word, someone who really believed in the fact that I'm a poet, that I write poetry, and uh, and it took me a while to adjust to the seriousness of his uh, uh, almost like, I would say, in a weird way, partnership, even though he was my mentor and my teacher. But still, nevertheless, he said once he described me to me, that he said, you're somewhat of a peculiar person. And I wasn't sure whether I should take it as a compliment or as an insult. But because I had a hard time relating to the word peculiar, I didn't. I wasn't quite sure that I understand the meaning of the word peculiar to its fullest substance, to its fullest impact. So for a while, I was walking around with the thing, with the feeling that I need to check myself, and how am I going to kind of detach myself from myself so I can observe myself. It wasn't something that was such a given to me as it is today, even though I cannot really take myself outside myself and position it somewhere and to think that this is normal, but I can do it, just utilizing and willing my imagination to do that. And it works for me, and it works for the purpose that I needed uh, uh, to work for. So then, when I started feeling the same feelings that Alan Plants felt about me by saying, "Oh, you walk around town and people look at you and they know who you are, but they kind of know they feel that you are a peculiar person." Okay. When it comes to public access, then you realize that being peculiar helps a great deal in achieving tasks that you're not even aware that you put in place. That you're actually responsible for that particular thing too, that's rolling back and forth and that's making sounds and motion and movements and compositions and whatnot. You're not even aware. I mean, you're aware, but you don't quite know what's going on. You know that something is going on, substantial. Something substantial is going on. So then you know that you have to bring into the equation keeping a straight face, to the importance of keeping it, being able to keep a straight face through the process. That helps you go through the process in a way that you will always reach a point where you realize that things happen really fast and that you have accomplished much more than you would have ever thought that you could. And to be able to measure it immediately, to have the ability to see at any given time what it is that you've just done in the last 10 minutes or a couple of hours or a week, or you're able to have, you gain access and then you keep that access. You don't have to kind of log on or sign in all the time all over again. It just doesn't work anymore like that. It's just there, and you're there with it, and it is there with you, and you're both in and within, and just kind of, there's no separation, even though there's enough room to breathe, because each side understands the importance of privacy, immediate vicinity, space, that importance. So when you achieve that level of balance and acknowledgement, it doesn't go away. It just stays the way it is, and every day that it stays the way it is, it actually spells progress. And I thought to myself, um, how it is that even though you can find yourself very sure of yourself and sure of the task at hand or the tasks at hand, and that you're already aware that you went through a lot of things that led you to a point where you realize you don't need or you don't have to go through that again. For the most part, it's this kind of energy draining factors, that always kind of rob you from your energy, and some of the energy you are robbed of is unreplenishable. What a devastating realization that is. And about 10 years ago I started realizing, oh my God, I was always realizing that we're spending our energy, accumulating it in order to spend it like a commodity. Like I ran out of cash here. I have a gold ring. What would you give me for it? And then someone takes it and pays for it and gives it to you, and that spells 4 weeks of survival. That you can pay for food and other things and stuff like that. I'm just saying. So there's always something that serves as a commodity and kind of like a safety net. Somewhat of a twisted safety net, but still nevertheless safety net. And you realize as an artist, these realizations of, wait a second, I just went through whatever it is that I went through. It wasn't so pleasant. I could have done without, and I'm definitely not going to find myself going through a process that spells that which I'm trying to stay away from or refer from or avoid. And if I cannot avoid it from happening, I will maybe make sure uh, I'm not available at that time and that timing. I'll be definitely somewhere else. But then, in the same token, you run away from something, and you choose a direction, then finding out that you're actually going into the same thing in a second location. And it's like, and before you have time to realize what's happening, you're actually going through that EDF's energy draining factor scenario, and you're doomed again all over again. Now you cannot afford. There's certain types of energies that you can afford just for a short time, because after a short time you're doomed. There's no way you can find yourself back in the game, and that will be a sad day when we kind of find out that we're actually outside of the game without any possibility and ability to reintroduce ourselves to the game. Forget about it. It's an awful feeling, because I felt it early on before I knew better about not necessarily the existence of certain scenarios and realities that spell this and that, but actually the ability, that acknowledgement of whether I'm capable or not, to prevent from finding myself there to begin with, and therefore sparing myself from, quickly enough you realize it doesn't matter what technique you choose, as long as you succeed at the end of that scenario to be able to avoid that, which usually robs you from vital energy, and not only vital but energy that you got to be very careful on how and what you put it to use, and for what sake, and make sure that after everything's said and done, you get it back and uh, good to go for another day. And tomorrow is another day, and so we're good to go for tomorrow. Anyway, so I can sit here and talk about so many things in ways that you can relate to, in ways that you cannot, in ways that you can understand, and in ways that you won't be able to understand. But still, nevertheless, I still have to go in a certain way, fashion, attitude, direction, technique, will, desire, interest, attraction, to be able to show something for what it is that was said or was done or was planned on on my behalf. Like, here it is. You know what? Okay, let's put every. Okay. It's about 8 p.m. and soon enough we're gonna have dinner, and maybe kind of conclude the day, and maybe there's a good movie to watch, or maybe we're going to the studio to paint paintings, or maybe we can have a long constructive conversation over the dinner table after dinner. But it's pretty much the end of the day, and I say, oh, wait a second. And then I come back, and I show this massive, 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 and I'm speaking for myself, beautiful, impressive painting that happened not to be there the morning of. And people that share this time with you, they know just as much as you do about you. And you show them, and they say, this is from today, isn't it? Indeed, absolutely, indeed, it is. It is absolutely, indeed, from this morning till this evening, as we stand face each other. To have something to show for is the thing that you just want to make sure that your statements, those that are you're for the most part not aware. I mean, I'm not the person who keeps track of my declarations or speeches giving or advice or conversations sharing with people during the day. It's not like I have any reason to have specific recollections. I mean, I would remember, but I'm just enough to know that it was there. So this is so when people will have their time to sit back and relax and enjoy, then suddenly their thoughts will come to the surface, and they will think about you, and they will maybe have doubts about what it is that you introduce, represent, stand for, because they don't get to see things happen. They get to hear words and energy and all this, but they don't get to witness the results. Where's the poem? Where's the painting? Where's that music? Where's that composition? He's the musician. Where is it? How come I don't hear the music? He's the poet. Where is it? How come I don't see the poem? He's a painter. An artist. How come I don't see the painting? You know, you'd be surprised how much attention people pay to these things because it's all instinctive. And the average person that doesn't paint paintings and doesn't have a studio and doesn't understand that will not have an ability to appreciate the gravity. Not that it means that they're not smart or they cannot be smart and intelligent and still not be aware of certain things because they don't happen to live the life. They don't happen to feel the feeling. They don't happen to find ourselves that this is their calling. Or I know a lot of painters that are incredible painters that don't think it's their calling. They're just painters. And they like to keep it this way. And maybe that's why they're so good because they just are who they are. They don't make a big deal out of it because it's already spelled to them energy draining factors right there, and it happens so fast, like a hurricane, like something that comes and grinds everything and disappears without any chance to be confronted or without any chance to be challenged because that power doesn't like to think that there's a possibility for it to be challenged because it is the challenging factor, not the factor that is susceptible to being uh, exposed to challenge and therefore be challenged. I mean, it works this way. So when you face the challenge and you have one or two or three mediums of creativity that you are engaged in, are part of, not accidentally, but this is because it spells who you are, what you are, what do you stand for, what kind of recollections you have that can spell an agenda, what kind of clarity and fluency is being introduced, represented through you and by you, that we can look and say, wow, we're paying attention, we're listening. You have captured our senses. And before we have time to try and evaluate, as we usually do as people, what's going on, um, it's already halfway into the process. And halfway into the process, with someone who is is with it completely and breathe it and taste it and feels it and and think about the world around and think about contribution and thinks about give and take and give. It's a second to none when it comes to feeling the pleasure of constructive interaction. Hey, how about just a constructive conversation? You meet someone, you see someone, a friend, whatever. You stand, you talk. You can start with saying how beautiful this day is, and how early is it that this year's spring came early, and oh yeah, and maybe the forecast for 3 rainy days this week, and did you hear this and that in the news? And did you hear about this and that and that and this? And yes, and then you find yourself with a person in front of you in this gentle push into an intense evaluation while actually the process is fermenting and taking place by becoming in the opposite and becoming in the opposite, disappearing into the next becoming into the next disappearance. This is real. This sounds confusing, but it's real. And you feel like, okay, I think that no matter how I feel right now, and it might be very awkward for reasons that I really couldn't care less for and about, because I know that even if I will understand the reasons perfectly and fully, I will not react to it differently than if I haven't paid attention to it at all. Then, as if I don't even know of its existence. There's no difference because at some point the bill will be represented to you and you're going to have to pay the bill because it's something you spent, it's something you bought, it's something you ordered, it's something you used. There's no argument about that. So might as well not worry too much about, oh, I think I missed it because I wasn't aware when it was happening, and when I did, it was too late because I just saw it like leaving a trail of dust behind it. But if you remember that that vessel that is sprinting away from you, leaving a wave of dust, is actually you are the vehicle. You're the person that's inside the vehicle, and you're the dust itself. You own everything. You absolutely own everything. And you know what? Even if you are hallucinating and imagining things that are as far away from reality as possible, and people would sometimes even point to you and say, you must be crazy. You're most probably crazy. But it won't matter because in your agenda, in your immediate vicinity, there's a composition that is spelled coherently and clearly and plainly as one can imagine, or as one can be lucky enough to be a part of, or feel that he or she has have a say, you know, have a say. It's not about people will listen or not. It's that you're permitted to begin with to speak your piece. And you know what? Usually this piece will be very short. Maybe a few haikus, one proverb and one haiku, and it will be already whoa, too much, too much, too much. You know, human being for the time being, for the time being a human being for the time being, human beings. You know, kind of things like that. Then you say, wait a second, so human beings, human for the time being. As much as it's full of meaning, it just also the most ridiculous things, and who cares? Actually, think about it. I come from extreme care to the fullest care possible. And I said, but who cares? Because there's no way I can tell you that it engulfs the entire existence of what stands behind and in front and within reality. But in the same token, it's as irrelevant as can anyone in the world imagine. You'll probably be right. Who cares? So you got to go through the who cares in order to reach the top of the mountain. I don't want to use the word mountain. The top of your majestic feeling of your capabilities. Okay, the top of your awareness in that sense. Okay, so in the same token, you can just come to a dead stop because you're not the kind that, even if you want, most probably cannot be able to contemplate while this vessel, this vehicle is actually charging, driving forward, because that's what it's all about. Because you're in it, you're the vehicle, you're the passenger, you're everything. You're the surrounding, you're the environment. Why? Because you're responsible for this composition and for the ingredients that make this composition that you encounter and witness. So the understanding that that's why, if you think about the Second World War, for example, with all the participants, with all the individuals that are like, who were there? Stalin, Hitler, and some some of his immediate generals, whatever, Himmler and Goering and all of these kind of Eichmann and Mussolini, and then you have like like the emperor, the Japanese emperor, and Goebbels, the propaganda minister, and then you had uh, whomever, like all these wonderful peace-seeking few individuals by way of the president of the United States and the prime minister of the United Kingdom or whatever. So you're talking about maybe 10 people, 10 people that came from only 20 years earlier, if you were to speak in 20, 25 years earlier than, if you were to say, I don't know, 1919, at the end of the First World War. These individuals in their late 20s, late 30s, they were still influenced by their free spirited aspirations as far as how they see life and what they expect from life. The playfulness, maybe, even though uh, if you think of Hitler, Hitler was a vicious person. He was like maybe a victim, you know. Maybe he was beaten by his dad, and I can only imagine those German structured families and tradition or whatever. Probably when a dad hits his son, he hits him so hard and so much until they risk killing their kids, and all the and then they think they're within their rights to do it. So even Hitler, when you think about it, or Himmler, when they spoke about their childhood, or when their childhood is public knowledge, they were beaten the heck out of them by their dads and stuff like that. And it wasn't occasional, it was every day. It was every day. So you grow up in this environment, and it's like this concussion, the repercussions of concussion. How many concussions, and what is it that they expect from people to be introduced into society? It doesn't have to be that your parents stab you with a knife and throw you to the dungeon and hope that you will die and somehow you survive. No, it's just punching you and pulling out the belt and giving you 50 lashes, or just like literally punching you in your face very hard, and you're only 7, 8 years old, and your dad looks at you, and your dad wants you to be aware that he loves you also, and maybe that he will fail in convincing you that he loves you unless he really beat the heck out of you. Something twisted. So now we talk about pain, we talk about aggression and violence, and we talk about also being retarded. They were retarded individuals that you could not blame them for them being completely so naive and kind of completely retarded. This is 100 years ago. And of course today when you use the word retarded, you got to be really careful because because it just doesn't sound good. So just imagine, if you think about 80, 90 years ago, when we speak about these few, maybe less than a dozen individuals that really shaped that energy that brought us to fight the war. And between the Holocaust and the battlefields and all this, you talk about 100, 150 million casualties, for God's sake. So you're going to go to your desk and pick up that pen, and you want to reminisce. You want to do your job even though you're absolutely convinced and sure that your job is meaningless to begin with. But it doesn't bother you to think that should spell that therefore I'm not going to write, and therefore I'm not going to paint, and therefore I'm not going to choose music, to play music and to write music, and therefore I will choose not to accept all these as important things and worthwhile to be a part of, and that you don't need to seek that level of excellence in order to make a difference. Yeah, I don't have to be a Mozart or Beethoven, and I don't need to know how to play the piano at all to begin with in order to make leave my mark in the world of music. And I don't need to be the poets of all poets in order to write a poem and think that it's worthwhile, and indeed it most probably will be worthwhile and will touch on people's hearts And if it touches only one heart, then you know you succeeded because it's going somewhere. So, okay. So you want to say to yourself, less than a dozen people that I can sit here and damn them to be to suffer all the wrath of hell that can be bestowed upon any individual that will live a life here on planet Earth, and then time comes to go back to where we came from. So our hopes will be, burned to death and forever and ever, and that may the pain will never cease, and may your soul will always be tortured. Something like that. Speaking of someone like Stalin, who himself ordered to kill 50 million Russians, or something ridiculous like this. And this wasn't fiction. This was real. This was their task. As much as you can say nowadays that here's an artist, and the artist, he or she, are thinking about an exhibition, and they put a plan together. They come up with a narrative, and they come up with a title, and they find a title they can live with it, and they're happy. And then now they decide to act and to start painting, and now they know that they need at least 30 paintings, and they work on it, and they try really, really hard not to repeat themselves and not to copy themselves, and to feel like they need to be rejuvenated and change and progress and this and that. Now, this is what these villains had to go through, because it you feel in a certain way with the vision that you have to begin with, even with the least amount of abilities to execute it to the fullest extent that you want, but you know that it's just a matter of time that it will materialize. I mean, Hitler did not start killing Jews like right away and burn them and all this. No, deprived them from their rights, stole their property and their money, degraded them, humiliated them, and now and then some casualties here and there, until he became, the serial killer of all serial killers of any kind of history related to the human race. You know, killing 6 million people, like intentional killing, like in an outfit that is designed to kill you, this, burn you, this, that, and erase you from the face of the earth, and quickly enough use your ashes um, to fertilize the gardens of the future for flowers and fruits and vegetables and whatnot. So, and how twisted is that? That they thought about that, by the way. They're going to eat that which the ashes of their victims will fertilize their potential success to grow food in order to survive. I mean, what the heck? This is a direction and a subject that it saddens me a lot, and it disturbs me a lot, even though things happen today also that potentially there's another war and another third world war, and maybe nothing will be left after, things like that. But but it shouldn't deprive me or stop me from making the calculations as meticulously as the kind of artist that I am, that I can, to do it right away without any reservations or second thought, because we don't want to even go there. This is important. How important it is, and what is it that's important? Maybe it's not anybody's business, only yours for that sake. And then therefore you really don't have to calculate so much, so they will deprive you from the quantity or the quality of that which is under discussion. So for that sake, you are searching for the missing ingredients of the energy that fermented in that introduction, and for that sake you really constantly entering the realization that if you were to hang on to it long enough, you're talking about lessening its impact on the future. And if we're talking about something so terrible in the future and then becoming a part of the future, then you can only imagine how much worse it can be, how much. And you thought that this is it, this is nothing, nothing can top it. Okay, but we know better. But we want to go back to the studio. We want to go back to the surface that awaits you so patiently. We want to go back to whatever it is, state of the art's iPad, Apple, or just a shabby pen that you took from your visit in the bank, and and a 50-cent pad, 2 for 1, that you bought the other day. And to your surprise, it carries 120 pages each, and you bought it for 50 cents. You have 240 pages, and for you, it spells 240 poems, maybe even more. But that's that I think is important in a way that we can only find out how much even more important than we thought it was, and how surprised we will find ourselves to be encountering this information. But it does spell that I always brought the joy to my heart when I used to write my poetry, like literally. And I have books and notebooks that are full to the fullest. I have a whole box full of them, box of treasure, and a proof of putting the time and attention and intention, intention and attention, goodwill, energy, and focusing and coherently spreading it in such a way that it's so pleasantly powerful sitting in front of you, and you just look at it and you immediately and instantly understand and know where you stand, how far you went to in order to get to that point, how much further you're gonna have to continue, and how long it will take you. You know that much. That's awesome. So you take all this combination, all the things that you can describe by way of goodness, by way of evil. Things. Think of Mengele. Um, um, think of Joseph Mengele. Think of him. Think of the extent of the beastiness. May his soul rot in hell forever and ever. Okay, that's all I can say. But think about this guy having a call for duty when he was much younger. In the beginning of him being a doctor, someone who took the oath to protect, to serve, to save people, to better their lives, to comfort them when they need comfort, to understand them, to be a psychologist, to be a philosopher, and to be a good doctor, to have your values solid, non-wavering, no potential um, permission to enter by anything that have even a hint of evil or ill wishing. And look where he ended. This guy ended up in friggin' Auschwitz, taking twins and manipulating them and operating on them and doing horrific things. Horrific. Senseless and horrific. And utilizing some help by way of Jewish inmates that happen to be also doctors that made themselves, that joined his effort in order to survive. But that's a whole topic and issue in itself. And and suddenly there's a group of colleagues in Auschwitz. I mean, yeah, uh, Joseph Mengele was used Jewish uh, professors and doctors and whatever that arrived to Auschwitz to join forces with him, and the kind of conversations they had, and the kind of reality that was forming in front of them completely denied them from access to rationalizing what they're doing. It was like colleagues chatting, talking, sense of urgency. When you experiment, when you when you cut someone open just like that without any preparations and cut their liver out in order to examine it after you tortured that person for 10 hours. Senseless, deboning bodies and feeding it to the hungry crowds. I mean, terrible things. So you say, okay, okay. So where is the leader of that code of conduct the early on, 2.5, 3 decades before these people were fully blown monsters, literally monsters, okay? But this is not a serial killer that goes in the streets and deceive people and kill 5, 6, 11, 10. Not that one person is not as bad as a million. A murder is a murder. Cruelty is cruelty. So, but here you're talking about scientific calculation, putting the plan together, presenting it to the group of know-it-all, so to speak, colleagues. This is how we're going to become monsters. This is the procedure. This is the plan. If you follow the plan, we will prevail. We will be able to eradicate a whole race, and in the process become more knowledgeable about and find cures about medicine like we wouldn't have been able to do it in 200 years. The more you will describe it and talk about it, the more twisted it will become, and it sounds more and more evil, even though something is, you can plainly say, there cannot be more evil than evil. Evil is evil. There can be no more pain than painful. It's not like you're going to say very painful is more painful than just plain painful. Painful is painful. Twisted is twisted. Madness is madness. Cruelty is cruelty. You can't say it's more cruel than this cruelty that's been. But we want to go as individuals, as we say, even though we can say, well, we're facing a time now where any time it can, next week we can wake up into a world in chaos. Okay, so that is to say what? That means that we have to lose the shadow of our brilliance now. That we can just like throw the towel and say like, okay, you know what? We always felt like we need to be like losers and behave like losers, so might as well start early because it's coming. No, no, but you will find yourself in your studio, in your shrine, in your safe place, in your quiet zone, in your creative demeanor, implementing and cross implementing, and finding out that you have more than one dimension, more than one stage, more than one skill, more than one world that offers so many opportunities to make this world happier, smarter, and more experienced and grateful. And gee, I see sometimes in Facebook people writing about whatever social media, and whenever I can, I always answer it. Please take the time to speak. Give it just the same amount of time and space that you've given to describing how this world is coming from bad to worse and all this. Fine, I agree, I accept, but we have to follow it up with goodness. Okay, tell us all about the good things. Tell us about the last great movie you watched. Tell us about how the movie industry is bringing joy to our life. Tell us about your vacation. Tell us about how you were treated to go to a wonderful exotic place in 5-star hotel and spend 2 weeks all fully paid for, and you really really managed to relax and have good food in the sun and great company you had and whatnot, and dancing and contemplating and feeling no pressure. Nobody pushes you. Nobody does nothing. You just you yourself and you're in heaven. Talk to me about that. A little bit, but at least talk to me about that. Talk to the world, speak to the world, describe to them your vacation, describe to them your moment of joy with your loved ones, describe to them your moments of experiencing triumph and how it felt and what it was all about. So much more. So then I can say, here's a decent human being. He is a decent, stabilized, balanced human being. He or she just described all the ailments of the world and just gave us an opportunity to understand how they feel about all the goodness in the world, and that they indeed monitor and witness that and appreciate it and live it. Okay, good. Because you never know. As much as the Third World War is lingering right there, it can be 2,500 years away. And most probably, it's more probable than you think that that madness will backfire and come to you and dry all these liquids between your spirit and your soul and freeze it. And you would be like, wait a second, did I just witness the stroke? Or is it just a new kind of pause that takes everything away from you while it keeps you intact as far as your senses through this vacuum glass or an ice cube that you happen to be inside this ice cube? And you have to learn something from it while you're witnessing it. And then you realize that you know what you know, and it doesn't matter what you know, that it's going to have to go through the duration, and no matter how long it is that it is necessary for it to go from point A to point B, it must go from point A to point B for the time that it requires. And solutions only in the eyes of the almighty creator, so to speak. So you speak of shapes and colors, and you speak of decision-making process to put it together. And then you will make the decisions of the timing. Timing is everything. But in the same token, who cares? It's like you think, okay, I may sound good. I may say things that are, wow, wait a second, this and that. I may offer reasons to be uncomfortable, but also I may be the one that gives you solutions and a great way and an easy way to be that which you're absolutely convinced that you're not. Right there is salvation for the world. Right there, prolonging that preferable state of mind that leads to goodness and at easeness and, yes, chilling. Remember what the American people are all about? We know how to chill. Unfortunately, 9/11 came and robbed us from this being able to chill for no special reason. When I first came to this country, I was amazed how people use the word chilling and actually using it because they live being chilled. It's, it's something I could not describe, but I said, this is something I wanted to learn how to be able to chill immediately, because it just felt like this is out of this world. Now, I think this is the strength of America. It invented chilling. What are you doing? How are you doing? Chilling. Are you chill? I'm chill. This chill. And there was those friggin' evil bastards that came to our country and exploded with airplanes into our buildings. First of all, how dare they? And how come we didn't burn their souls in their deep graves long time ago? But that's a whole discussion, to a different discussion. But it's not. But in the same token, we say to ourselves, they took away from us the ability to just relax and chill for no special reason. Just a nice day. And what are we doing? We're chilling. Show me one country in the world that can do that. Even today, you cannot. I cannot. I thought I lived in Paris for 3 years. I never saw anyone chill there. It was great. It was this, but people were like, more like Oh, whatever. I don't know. But it was not chilling. I came to New York City. They're all chilling. I I went to all over California, completely from end to end, and all I see is people chilled. 1984, the winter of 19, fall and winter of 1984, throughout California, crisscrossing California, nothing but chilling. People were freaking chilling, unbelievable, unbelievable. Okay, what am I trying to say now here? Is that when you be in my position, you would realize and you find out that you actually everything goes through this, everything's connected and everything's going through the same grinder. And this grinder is a smart grinder. It knows about the ingredients immediately. As soon as you feed it for the task of grinding, it also picks up the data of what's there. It consists of what? ABC 1, 2, 3. Now that in itself is something magical, out of this world. Uh, Fulfilling, promising. And you find out quickly enough, there's no way you're going to be upset because of that. You're now in somewhat of a shock because you're finding out, wait a second, what did I do? I didn't do much and so much returns. There's so much return from it. And you realize that this that's approaching you as a return is actually yours. You earned it. It's like if you pause for a second and think about that, that you immediately you go through that. Let's say you can relate to what I'm saying now in general, or some of you maybe can relate exactly, and that would be more than I can feel about it. I can only relate to what I choose to relate to, and what I think that I'm able to relate to, and therefore maybe conserve my energy and leave it to some more challenging scenarios in my life. But I want to say, let's just understand the moment of realization where you realize this is actually mine. I own it. Now, okay, once you accept that, it doesn't matter. You can take your time. You can react and act and react immediately, instantly. You can just chill while you're chilling because you know how to chill and you chill because you can chill. And you'll get to it and you'll get to it eventually. Of course, you're going to get to it. And you're not going to be slower because you waited longer. And you're not going to be faster because you reacted immediately. It's all good because your realization is there. That vehicle and who the person that's in the vehicle, operating the vehicle, and the dust trail that it leaves behind, all of this is me. And all of this I own. So it's important and important because it's something that you will encounter next time you enter the immediate vicinity of your artistic shrine, you want to call it, the studio today. You would realize that these forces, these achievements, these deposits are already stored in your studio. You go there, bam, boom, like the cloud. Your studio is your cloud. It's all filtered, whatever it is new that and extra that happened today and all this, it's going to that Google, to the cloud, to your studio, and it awaits you. And it won't be shy when you come. It will reveal its face. Thousands of faces are going to be revealed in approaching you, making you aware of their existence and presence. How are you going to treat it? How are you going to deal with it? I don't want to have a part in this. I just spoke my piece. I hope that you'll be able to, if not address it, at least address the sudden vulnerability and exposure that you feel and handle that right will already take you to places where don't even want to go there because I don't know yet how to decipher it or how to handle it. And yes, so expectations. Overwhelming, yet relieving. Expectations. Self imposed, encountered expectations. Dwelling, contemplating expectations. It's as if I want to remain convinced that this world of ours is at our disposal because the way we think, because the way we operate, and because we chose to be creative. And if you are lucky enough to consider yourself as a fully blown hands-on artist, then I cannot imagine the potential of things that can maintain your happiness for the long run and make you feel that you're in good hands and this is going to last. And for example, I sit here with LTV, public access. This public access concept, this is what that which I speak of will last. This is a lasting thing. You can take everything in a sudden fashion here in America, and public access alone is something that can hold everything together still, nevertheless. I'm not saying that to you because I need to encourage myself to believe in it. I'm already soaked with it. So even if things terrible are going to unfold in the world, which is no one, but yeah, but why am I saying that? Because all everything together from both ends are happening at the same time. Goodness, you want to look for goodness. If you would take upon yourself one morning to look for the goodness and to identify and to experience, for that sake, the goodness in the world, you will be by midnight that night. I'm not so sure you'll be able to go to sleep. You will be so wired from the experience and the revelations of that goodness that's happening around the world to such an extent that it will change you. And only that morning you were skeptical about even its basic existence. And that's what we want to talk about here. That's what I want to express to you. Let there be a third world war of goodness. Let's see how people compete to be the first to speak the good word, to be the first to suggest the positive compassion and regard and care, for the people to be the first to attend to the needy and to nurse the wounds of our society, and maybe find out that there are no wounds to attend to and to nurse. There's just too much goodness. And yeah, well, I'm like, it may sound cliche here. And for the most part, I'm trying to shy away from being cliche, but sometimes it's an impossible task. Let me see that. So let me finish by saying April 19th, year 2024. We're going to be here tomorrow. No, April 19th, yes. 17, 18, 19th, is it? Let me see. What am I saying? April 19th, year 2024, here with the Alola Show. We're going to be here tomorrow as much as we're here yesterday, and as much as we're here this morning, as I said, Friday morning, April 19th, 2024. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Keep up the good spirits. We'll see you soon.